Almost exactly 5 years ago, I was a freshman here at UW-Whitewater. I was feeling the same way most freshmen do, overwhelmed by the general sensation of finally being a college student. I was meeting new friends, being active, and going to parties. On the second weekend of my freshman year, I can remember a group of people from the second floor in Aerie Hall asking me and my roommate if we would play sand volleyball. Not wanting to seem antisocial, I of course agreed and went to the courts. After we got to the courts, we divided into teams and of course had to argue about every little thing that could possibly be decided about a game of volleyball. Eventually, we started playing and I found out that among the people who were there, I was one of the more athletic players, which felt like a nice confidence booster. Our team scored and took the serve away, which in turn made it my serve. After I hit the ball, I noticed a heartburn or acid reflux type pain in my left part of my chest. After I stood at the back of the court, I kept playing but noticed the pain just kept getting worse without any sign of letting up. I eventually sat down because the pain in my chest was just too much. I remember being offered water because one of the guys who was also there thought I may have just been dehydrated. I knew that wasn't the case, but I didn't know what the case actually was either. I eventually decided to walk back to Aerie Hall. About halfway to my dorm, I had to stop because the pain had become so immense that I couldn't even keep walking. I finally made it to my dorm and took a sip of water. This eased the pain, but only as it passed my chest. I arrived at my room and just wanted to lie down. This caused more pain than I was already in, so I sat upright on my futon and watched TV until my roommate got back 30 minutes later. That night was a rough night of sleep, and so were the next few. I was a diver on the swim and dive team and noticed that after my first dive for each practice, whenever I came up, the pain was gone. I found this strange, but I didn't know what to make of it. After 5 days of no relief, I went to the campus medical center. I was told they were not allowed to take x-rays but would do an EKG scan to see if my heart was functioning properly. This was because the pain was on the left side of my chest. The scan came back normally and I was told I probably pulled a muscle. My mother, of course, was concerned, as any mother would be for her child, when after 9 days the pain had still not gone away. I went to the Cedar Mills Medical Clinic in Mequon, where my doctor did almost everything that was done in Whitewater until he suggested an x-ray. This was to see if he could find a bruised rib or something internally that you just couldn't see at a glance. After the x-ray developed, my doctor, my mother, and I were sitting in his office when he pulled the x-ray up on the board. "See this over here?" he asked, motioning his pointer over the entirety of the right side of my chest. "That's your right lung. Now can you see this?" he asked, motioning his pointer over a circle on the left side of my lung, perhaps the size of a stress ball. "That's your left lung." I had suffered from what is known as a spontaneous pneumothorax. This means that my lung had a weak spot that eventually just gave way and my lung collapsed. Eventually, we came to the conclusion that I would need to have an incision for a chest catheter. The catheter would drain out the air in my chest cavity and allow my lung to reinflate. Although this sounds dramatic, I was actually somewhat excited to see what morphine felt like. I was first given a local anesthetic for the initial incision. Once the catheter was in place, I was also given a Vicodin. The Vicodin wasn't doing much for me, so they asked if I wanted morphine. Of course, I said yes. For those of you who know what morphine feels like, you are well aware that I was incapacitated. If you don't know what morphine feels like, imagine every muscle feeling exhausted but not sore, along with not having a care in the world, so essentially I was very relaxed. I was required to stay in the urgent care facility for 2 nights so they could make sure that nothing else was going to go wrong. People stopped by and I even got a gaming magazine from my friend, which was more entertaining than watching Cash Cab for 6 straight hours. Although these set of events did not occur over a 24-hour time period, they certainly changed me. I was told to not take part in physical activity for 6 weeks. As a freshman in college who had recently begun his first semester, I was let down to say the least. I sat and watched my friends have fun playing basketball, volleyball, and even go swimming while I sat in my dorm. This put me in a mindset that I was just supposed to stay in while others went out. It has taken me a while to get back into the swing of things and how they used to be, but I was eventually able to overcome my bad habit of living a sedentary lifestyle. My self-improvement goal is actually to become more physically active so I can get myself into better shape, have a more stimulated mind, and better social skills.